Hello, everyone. Hello. How's it going? Good afternoon. Yes.
I love them.
Thank you for being here. We know it's a little bit wet outside, but you showed up. You look amazing. And we are going to honor the one and only Tricia Hersey. Let's get some. Yes.
Love y'all.
She is a global pioneer and the originator of the movement to understand the liberatory power of rest. REST. Can you say it with me? She is the creator of Rest is Resistance and the Rest as Reparations Frameworks and the author of the New York Times bestseller, Rest is Resistance. And most recently, We Will Rest, The Art of Escape. So to start us off, we're going to have her read from her incredible new book and just set the tone for this conversation because we're going to keep it real. We're going to be I have some questions.
Okay, good.
I got some real, intentional questions, so I want to hear from you.
Thank you, Glory. So nice I've been going back and forth with you for years and online, email, but I've never met you in person. So
This is our first time. You guys are
It's
witnessing.
amazing.
Yes.
I'm so proud. First of all, what's up, Harlem? Because I love y'all so much. When I say Harlem F with me, it doesn't matter. Like at my book launch for We Will Rest in November, it was like 700 people at the First Corinthian Baptist Church in Harlem. So yeah, Harlem is a vibe. If anybody ever calls me to do anything in Harlem, I come. This place, y'all, outside of my city of Chicago where I'm from, Harlem is the one that messed with me. And I love y'all forever. So I'm so proud to be here. I want to just read a little bit from my new book, We Will Rest, The Art of Escape. And this book is a companion, I would say, to the first book. Most people probably know the first book, Rest is Resistance, a manifesto. It's kind of the framework. It is the foundation for the entire movement around Rest is Resistance. And so this book is a art book. It's illustrations, original typography, poetry, meditations, affirmations, stories about my escape from being an escape artist. So I claim myself as an escape artist from capitalism and white supremacy and grind culture. And it uplifts trickster energy, so the trickster that we have to be. I opened the book with a quote, two quotes, one from Harriet Tubman and one from Nikki Giovanni. Harriet was now left alone. She turned her face toward the north and fixing her eyes on the guiding star and committing her way unto the Lord, she started again upon her long, lonely journey. For, she said, I had reasoned this out in my mind. There was one of two things I had a right to, liberty or death. From Harriet, The Moses of Her People by Sarah H. Bradford. If the enslaved could believe, I know I can. Nikki Giovanni. Yeah, give it up for Nikki, Miss. We love her. I opened the book with a question. Question. How do you find rest in a capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal, ableist system? Answer, you tap into trickster energy. You become an escape artist. This book is a sacred object. You are a sacred object. This book is a manual on care. You are an escape artist. I am the trickster, the one who got away, the one who always knew, the one able to transmute grief to rest. I am the trickster, the one who refused, the one leaping from the tops of mountains into a bed of feather pillows. I am the trickster, assigned as the debt collector by my ancestors, resting to reclaim the dream space stolen. Pay up. I am the trickster, The one who squinted her eyes, cocked her head, recognized the lies, peeped the scam. You are divine. Let that soak in for 3 minutes. I'll hold back spring while you soak. You are a miracle in light. No edits are necessary, not needing to be fixed. You are archive, protected documents. All is well. Will you rest? I'm writing this book so you will know that you are not unreasonable, that you are not imagining things, that your body is tired and your mind and spirit feel numb because the systems want it that way. They have worn you down into a pulp. There is life after death. There is spiritual resurrection. How to be an escape artist, an incomplete list. Step 3, create community, build community, be community. Community care can seem impossible when you are exhausted, but it is possible. Community is anywhere 2 or more are gathered. 2 is still community. Don't rush to quantity as the marker of deep community and care. Don't rush to do anything alone. To be an escape artist is to be in the collective, supported in rest, in care, and love. Demand the collective as a source of inspiration and change. Real change comes from the people. I have claimed myself as an escape artist. My early days experimenting with rest came quickly as the whispering yell of my body lit a path. This is a meditation on how I escaped grind culture, how I built a home by laying down and slowing down and daydreaming in my own community and in my own heart. My deliverance out of grind culture is a spark for my soul. Here's an escape practice. Rub your hands together and create energy and heat. Do it. Rub your hands together and create energy and heat. Then rub this energy all over your body slowly. Now, if we were laying down, we could lay down for 3 minutes and breathe deeply. Then rub your hands together more. Then breathe and rub this heat over your face slowly. Breathe as deep as you can from your belly. Exhale. You can breathe through anything. Now sit with a partner and ask for consent for touch. And let them put their hands on your back as you breathe. Let them feel your aliveness. There's a dialogue that happens when you focus on your breathing and when you focus on being alive. This is the art of escape, to heal, to rest, to desire care. Thank you.
So I am claiming the escape artist energy in the room. How many escape artists do we have? There is so much to be learned in your book. Earlier, I was on a separate panel, and the word that echoed in my mind was models of possibility.
Yes.
And with your books,
Yes.
plural, you offer us so much possibility in terms of how we can reset and reclaim and heal ourselves within.
Yes.
So my first question for you is, you look at this not only as exploring rest, but also as refusal to adopt these concepts around capitalism. There's also this ancestral ritual that you're calling out to, especially when you open with those two beautiful quotes regarding Harriet and Nikki Giovanni. Can you talk about what it means to reclaim rest as a sacred practice, especially in this time, the times that we're living in that are constantly being assaulted and everything is asked to be commodified, even our healing? How do we reset those things and put your practices into action?
That's such a layered question.
It really is. But I knew
you want the how.
I want the everything.
You know what? I think I felt this energy when I was writing the book and when I started this work. People would desperately come to me and be like, Tricia, tell me how. They'll be literally shaking me. They would be like, I need to know how. And I was like, but that's part of the problem.
Right.
Because life is not to be super understood at all times. It is to be felt.
Yes.
It is to be connected with. It is to be held in. And I think the main thing that has to come before we can get there is that we have to understand and we have to begin to grieve and begin to accept that we've been brainwashed. It's a hard place to be in, to understand that a place that you're in, a place that your ancestors have built, doesn't see you as a full human, doesn't see you as whole, doesn't see your life as worthy unless you work yourself into a pulp to get there. And so I think the first step is deep awareness. It's a deep knowledge. It's a lit up path. It's something inside of you that says something about this doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is. I know I'm getting up every day. I'm working 20 jobs. I don't have money to pay rent. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. But you go on because that's what the culture demands. Capitalism and white supremacy demands that you overwork yourself to the point of exhaustion because capitalism was built on plantations. And I think that we have to really begin and start with the history of what is really happening. And so I hope my work to be a light, to just simply be a light, a little like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? Just in a deep awareness, because once that awareness comes, I trust our bodies, I trust the Creator, I trust our ancestors more than I trust these trashy systems.
Yes,
I don't trust them. So I trust what I know to be true. I trust the Creator. I trust my community. I trust my own body. And I think that we have to start there. We can't just rush our steps. That's what part of this culture wants us to do. They want us to rush things, to just get to the end of it. What are the 10 steps? What is, when people first got my first book, they were a little upset. Some of the reviews were like, well, she didn't tell us what to do. Like, where are the 10 steps on how to rest? And I'm like, this is decolonizing work. This is a lifelong, meticulous practice in love. And we have to first understand what has happened. And I don't think that Black people specifically have dropped in to understand what is really happening, because it is actually quite painful. It's quite painful to understand that the same engine that was working our ancestors in plantations 20 hours a day, women giving birth in the fields and going back to work, picking 500 pounds of cotton, the pace of looking at you and commodifying Black bodies, the same engine driving capitalism today. To really sit with that would probably, in a lot of ways, take you back so much that you probably couldn't function. And so capitalism demands that you ignore, that you're not embodied in your own body, that you don't trust it, that you don't trust anything except what you got to do, so you become zombie-like. You become numb. And this work is asking you to slowly begin to reimagine what it could look like to say no. And what it could look like for your body to collaborate with you to be a partner in this. And so I say that's the first step. We can't get down there. And so I think the collective rest events and what I'm known for, the work really came out of not the books. The books didn't come for I don't know, 4 years later, these were just rest events in the community with yoga mats and blankets, and just one person would come.
Yeah.
And it would be me with my little flyer, like, hi, I'm here are you here to rest? And they like, yeah, girl. I'm like, okay, it's one person here. Like, here's your mat. I'll be spraying lavender oil on them with a little pillow, have my little cheap speaker box playing little Alice Coltrane, like, go to sleep, you know? And then it just grew. There's hundreds and thousands of people, but it started in my body. It started with me trying to save my own life, and then from that, it grew. But I think that if we can just slow down enough to let our bodies and mind connect and do the deep, deep healing work that they are born to do, I think that's the first step.
You know, I think what you're saying also calls out to the fact that we need to reclaim our intuition.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
It is this, like, collective slowing down to know who you really are.
Yes.
Not who you are in these projections of what capitalism demands of you, but who your soul is.
Yes, this is soul work. It's not self-care. This is soul work. This is soul care.
Yeah.
It's community care. I don't mention self-care in any of my books. People keep putting that on my work, and I keep being like, absolutely, and I never said that. I wrote 70,000 words in that first book. I never said one time self-care.
Yep.
You place that on it. I say soul care, community care, communal care. Like, we won't make it alone. We won't make it. We have to be with each other.
Yep.
And so this work really uplifts the collective, and it uplifts deep spirit work. This is spiritual work. This is not commodified wellness work. This is justice work. It's political work.
Yes.
To say no to white supremacy and capitalism, to say, you know what, I see you.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. It's just be like, nope, not me. That alone is such a radical act. It's political work.
I feel like I'm getting chills right now because not only are you saying no and creating this counter narrative on what it could look like, you are completely transforming these systems and giving people options on how to, whether you are black, white, other, everyone can do this work.
Absolutely.
If they are intentional and thoughtful about the process of it.
Yes, it is. This is work for the human race. This is human work. This is human work. This is humanity. This is deep human rights work. Yeah. And because you know why? Because black liberation is a balm for the entire world. Until we're free, nobody gonna be free. Right. So get on board with our freedom. Until we're free, no one is free. Until I'm free, you're not free. And so if we begin to look at black liberation as being a balm, as being the center, I don't have to say to people, oh, my work is for black people. What do you mean? Like, I'm black. Everything about this work comes out of a lens of black liberation. So I can be very implicit in that. I can just say this work is a balm for the world, but it is deeply out of black liberation. Yeah. Everyone I speak about in my book is because of my ancestors, is because of the people who came before me. And so me as a black woman saving my own life from being deeply exhausted, deeply sleep deprived, really saves others, because that's what womanism and what blackness is. Like, so me saving myself saves you. You resting saves someone else. We're so disconnected because the culture really demands that we be very much about individualism. Individual becomes this death cult that you think you got to do everything alone. I don't care about you. Whatever you got to say, it don't got nothing to do with me, but it actually has everything to do with you. And so,
we see it. We actually see it playing out right now.
You look, open your eyes. It's right. Just look around at what's happening.
It's literally everything. Everyone is being affected. And you said something earlier about this misinterpretation of it being called self-care.
Yeah.
Can you talk, like, how do you address a backlash or misinterpretation of your message, particularly of those who might see rest as quote unquote laziness, or people coming from a different privileged space that are trying to attack some of your theories and rhetoric? How do you continue to?
I don't address it. I just keep going. I just do my work. I just put my head down. I know the truth. When you know the truth, you're very dangerous. When you know what time it really is, there is nothing that can take you off that time. And so I know what it is. That's why I said in the book, I recognize the scam. You can't have me. I'm the one who got away. I'm the person who's the debt collector for my ancestors. I know. My ancestors told me I'm doing this work for them. And so rest as reparations is really deeply aligned with the rest as resistance move. They go together. This work started out of me honoring my ancestors, trying to reclaim the dream space that was stolen from them by resting, by slowing down, if we really understood what resting is, if we could begin to deprogram our minds from the lies we've been taught about resting being lazy, a privilege, something extra you do, resting is the foundation for a liberated world. I believe that our ancestors are waiting for us in the dream state. They're saying to us, if she or he could just lay it down. I have so much to tell them. I have so many ideas to offer to them. I have so much healing available to them. But we won't stop long enough to do that, and that is intentional. The systems have taught us that they know that a dream state, a rested state, is where real deep freedom and healing and ideas come from, where real deep liberative work is happening. It is not, it's a generative state of freedom. Yeah. We've been taught that resting is lazy, but it's actually a generative state. So much happens when we're resting. So much is going on in the spiritual realm, in the psychological, in the telepathic, in the emotional world that we can't get awake. Yeah. We can't do it. You can stay and grind all night. You can be up all night burning midnight oil. I'm never sleep when I'm dead. Okay. But when in that rested state is where the real liberative healing work is happening. We've been taught the opposite. And so my work hopes to be just a light for people to reconnect with their bodies, because their bodies will tell them this if they listen.
Part of your work really does, you speak so powerfully about how institutions, whether they're schools, churches, workplaces, can become sites of harm, but you also offer us all these incredible ways to rethink those spaces. And I have been, I don't want to use the word struggling, but trying to reimagine what school frameworks could be. Okay. Like similar, like how Nicole Hannah-Jones introduced 1619 Project, and she was so clear about making sure all those like schools, the HBCUs has this information. Can you talk about just how intentional you are about this, like educating young people with this ideology?
It's so important.
And changing future generations.
Yeah, it's important to see. It's important. I really think it has to be modeled. Like my son is here somewhere. He told me he's so tired of coming to my events that he is inside at a different event. He's like, you've been dragging me around since I was 6. I know the rest of the resistance movement. So he's inside probably listening to Damon or someone else. But he told me once, he said, Mom, he's working, he's 17, 18, he's got a new job. He's like, everybody at my job who are adults, they all seem so bitter. They all seem so exhausted. They all seem so just uninspired. And they all seem rushed. They all seem tired. He was like, you aren't like that. Yeah. He was like, you're so inspiring because all I ever see you do is lay around in a muumuu. You write, you get up, do your work, you travel, you come back, but you are in this place in the world where you feel like the world belongs to you. And I said, it does. It belongs to us all. This is our world. This is for us. And so it has to be modeled. And I actually also have been working with teachers in public schools. I used to be a public school teacher in Chicago public schools, like 5th grade. And so working with teachers has been great because I find teachers to be some of the most subversive individuals in our culture. Like they're on the ground and they can do so many things to begin to even though the public school system is ran by the state, that's another thing that I think a lot of people, my father was a deep Pan-Africanist and deep into Black consciousness. So he told me, I'm sending you to school because if I don't, they'll arrest me. He was like, but the real education is here at this house, you know? And so everything that is happening there is there, but what the real education is here. And so we have to begin to not expect so much from the public school systems. Can somebody amen on that, or am I tripping? Okay, I just thought I was tripping. You got to do Saturday schools with your kids, Sunday schools, teach them. Everything is a teaching moment all the time. And school is there. You teach them how to, go do the process. And you have really beautiful educators. My son has been educated by really beautiful Black people in Atlanta his entire career, K through 12. He just graduated last week. So
congratulations.
Thank you. He's going to Fordham University, so he'll be here in New York. I'll be back. Yeah, I got to come visit. Yes. So I think that we as parents and educators need to just see our role with young people is modeling. And I think I'm seeing a lot of young people get it. A lot of young people that I work with, they I'm not finna. They have broken some of these generational patterns and cycles. Yeah. They're about leisure. They're about doing things in art that they want to do. They're not trying to go get a 9 to 5 real quick. They're trying to start their own businesses. They're trying to recreate with each other, have communities. So I think it really is about modeling, and it becomes a lifelong modeling process.
How I want to, I love that. I love everything you're saying, and I feel like we're all inspired to think about how we can nurture imagination in a different way.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us just about, as we witness, I was on a different panel. We were talking about what was happening at the Library of Congress with Dr. Carla Hayden and all these things that are clearly attacks on imagination, on DEI, on just like Black resistance.
Yes.
How can we steady ourselves so we don't fall for this tag? What is the quote from Toni Morrison where it's, racism is a distraction?
Yeah,
how do you
that's
not
what it is.
Get away? How can we move away? And maybe it's not the how, but
No.
the mindset of moving away from these constant distractions, because it is heavy.
Yeah.
It's happening.
I mean, I'll go two ways with that. I'll talk about the idea of, understanding this is spiritual things happening, that this is really a spiritual thing that is happening. If we address it and look at it from that way, it all makes sense that this is happening. Like when I'm looking at what's happening in the administration, I was like, of course. Of course, demonic people are going to do demonic things.
Yeah.
Like, why are we surprised?
Right.
This is what it is. Like, and so we have to go back and look at what our ancestors did. I find my ancestors as being some of the most inspired. Whenever I get in the place where I'm like, I don't even know, I just go back and read what they were saying and what they were doing. I think about my grandmother. I think about my great-grandmother. I read the enslaved narratives. I think about the maroon communities. I think about what they laid as a groundwork for us and how we sometimes don't go back and listen, how we don't look at what they were doing and see it as a blueprint. The blueprint is there.
Yeah.
The blueprint is there. Like, we literally have to build community with each other. It is, without it, we're done. And I think if we can begin to really see what that could look like, if we begin to divest from capitalism in ways that look like what Black people know how to do.
Yes.
We know how to, somebody going through something, you go over there and cook for them. You do this, you come together and do co-ops. You're in churches, you're in your faith-based communities. You're working with each other. And I also think that this is the most time when you need to be resting.
Yeah.
I know people will say the opposite, but every time someone interviews me and they're like, what should we be doing right now, Trish? During these heightened moments, I'm like, I've been telling y'all to lay down.
Yeah.
It's never gonna change. I don't care from the pandemic to this administration to this. If we're not laying down and resting and seeing our rest as a foundation for us to be able to renew, to reimagine, to witness, to make it a decision that we're gonna decide. It is a decision to have joy. Joy is a decision. Rest is in this decision. Freedom is a decision. Liberation is a decision. So I'm not waiting on anyone else to give that to me. And so I think this is why the new book is called How to Be an Escape Artist, because people were pleading with me for the answers. And I was like, okay, we got to go into the deep wells. We have to become escape artists. We have to look at trickster energy. We have to look at the subversive.
Okay, because I'm very familiar with trickster energy. For those who might not know, can you give backstory to just African dialect and trickster energy? Just what do you mean by that? When
I think a trickster is a person who has knowledge and uses it in a way to be able to uphold things that are happening in systems. There are these intellectual, deeply knowing. I think about a Nancy the spider in African folk tales. I think about, Brer Rabbit. I think about the Maroons of North America. We talk about the Maroons in the Caribbean, but the Maroons right in North America who were jumping off slave ships never to be seen again. That alone will keep me going for the rest of my life. I don't know about nobody, but when I read about the Maroons and what they were doing in my book, I talk about them. And I talk about this book called Slavery's Exiles. Reading that book had me gagged for months. I had my mouth open the whole time like, excuse me, what? What happened? You left the plantation in Virginia and hid out in a cave for 15 years. And they were not fugitives. They didn't see themselves as fugitives. They saw themselves as just, I've decided that I'm not a part of that. Y'all got slavery and plantations going over there, but I don't. I'm here. Right. I'm living in it's like almost a third space that has to be created. We need to start getting into the third space, the trickster, the subversive energy of really seeing what the systems are doing, what they are, understanding that they're not going to change, that they are they have to be totally eradicated. They have to burn down. And so there is no type of negotiation with it. There is no negotiation with it. You have to see it for what it is, and that is very sad. Grieving, resting supports grieving. And so the more you can rest and begin to understand the grieving process of understanding where we are. And so to me, a trickster is like my grandmother Aura, who was resting every single day on her couch in between her 2 jobs, suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome from seeing the lynching in the South, on the run, leaving. She was a Jim Crow survivor of terrorism in the Deep South, and we called the Great Migration. But the Great Migration was really people leaving their homes. They didn't want to leave. They were refugees. And so that frame, to me, helped me to see myself as a trickster, as an escape artist now in this culture. Me resting, me saying no, me upholding boundaries, me healing, me teaching my son the same thing, me getting in community with others and showing them the light of who they are. I think once you see the light of who you are, I trust bodies. I trust our bodies. I trust the divinity of us. Most people don't, but I trust the divinity of our souls, of who we are. I understand the miracle it is to be human. Most people don't. I don't see nothing else. When I see a human, I see a miracle. I see a divine light. And so if you know that's who you are, yes, if you know that's who you are, I see the power of our bodies being a site of deep liberation. This is all we need. Yeah,
Amen.
In each other.
I was so appreciative of the example you gave earlier, the very beginning of your care. If it was just one person, you put that lavender
That's all who would,
oil
because sometimes
on.
nobody would come and I would nap. Literally. I was hosting lunch events in Atlanta, for lunch. It was 12 to 2 in downtown Atlanta. People can come and drop in. Sometimes one person would come, sometimes 15. Sometimes it would be me down there sleeping, whoever came, yeah.
Can we talk about that longevity? Because, the NAT ministry has resonated with millions of people. You clearly see this beautiful audience here. Looking back at how, from those early days, how has your vision shifted? Or how has it continued to grow more grounded as you continue this? Because it just continues to evolve, and we're so proud of you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
How does that feel to just see that?
You know what? When I really go there, I have skills to kind of keep myself. But when I go there, when I say this is where I'm going to go in and just really get into the great. I cried and bawled for 3 days straight. I'm so grateful. I really am. I'm deeply grateful. I really feel like I did this to save my own life. I never thought it would be all of this. I literally was like, I can't keep going. I just started sleeping. And then to think that the more it caught wind, the more it started, I said, wow, it was 300 people following the page. I was like, that's so nice. My son was like, Mommy, 300 is a lot of people. They really they're hearing what you're saying. I'm like, I love it. And then it just kept growing. I just was like, are these bots? Who are these people? And the crowds kept, and I was like, I would speak to someone in one-on-one, even before I started the NAT ministry. I was just doing it in my own. I was just sleeping because I was suffering. If you read my first book, I was just like, I can't go on. And because I'm a womanist and a community organizer, I thought to myself, someone else is tired too. Yeah. So maybe I'll just host things for free with my mom's old pillows and blankets. My mom let me borrow all this stuff. I didn't have a dime. I was like, Mama, do you got extra pillows and linen and comforter? She was like, girl, yes, go in that linen closet. Elder black women, she opened it up. It was stuffed to the ceiling. She was like, I got 50, just wash them. What do you mean? So and I just took them out and laid it down on people, and they rested. And so I didn't think one person would come. But if one person did come, I was happy. I was like, I just want someone to know. And so I think I'm deeply grateful that when I was sharing a story with people, I knew something was to it. I knew it was spiritual. I always knew that this was spiritual work because I would tell someone, they're like, what are you working on? I'd be like, I'm working on this thing called the NAT ministry. She said, what do you mean? I said, and I was explaining. They would start bawling. And I was like, why are you crying? They were like, I'm so tired. Every single time I would tell someone about the work, they would start crying. Every single event we have, someone is in tears. The systems have abused and exploited our bodies, and it is deeply felt. We are all so exhausted. Capitalism demands that we are moving at the pace of a machine, but we are not machines. We are divine human beings, and so I'm deeply grateful. What I think has changed a little bit, insightful now, is that I love that how the community is just recreating things all over the world. You know, I get like people sending me things from Amsterdam and in different places. I'm going to Italy, and I was in Australia, and I'm like, when the people from Australia called, I said, what do y'all want? They're like, we want you to come do an event. I said, who knows my work in Australia? And I get there, and it's like 600 people at the event. And I'm like, I'm blown away but then I'm also understand that capitalism is a global pandemic on the world. Yeah. I knew that this would be global because I knew that capitalism has touched every part of the world, and I knew that capitalism demands that every human being disattach from their humanity to work like a machine. So I didn't know how, but I knew it slowly would move because this is a human rights issue. And so I'm deeply grateful. I'm literally in awe of it. I don't think I'll ever be able to really fully take it until I'm retired and sitting at the house and not doing it no more and like an old lady, God willing, 90, and just be like, what was that about? You know, like I won't be able, because I'm still in it. You know, I'm writing new work, I'm writing new books, I'm traveling, I'm doing so much as far as being in the community, but I'm deeply grateful. And if one person has felt that in some way resting has shifted their life in a way that has made them feel more whole, more human, more connected, that is in some way helped them to see themselves as who they are, that's all I want. If it was one person, I would be just as happy if it was the 500 people in Australia. I really do feel that.
We're going to open it up for questions. So if you want to raise your hands, and we'll get some questions. You can start, Ramonda. Yeah. I'll repeat your question because we don't have a mic. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. Yes. What do you?
I'm gonna repeat the question.
Yeah.
So we have Ramonda from Mahogany Bookstore in Washington, D.C.
The Black Godmother of books.
Yes.
We love her.
And her question was in regard, as an entrepreneur and a creative person, and just a light in our community. How do you break the cycle of of just continuing to having to go? What is your tips on that?
I think we have to reframe what it means to break a cycle. If you one morning got up and took a longer bath and didn't get right on your emails, you did something. You rested. You fought against the systems that want you going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Any break, any disruption, my work is a pushback and a disruption. Any break or disruption in the narrative of saying go. Work 3 jobs, work 10 jobs, work 20 hours a day. Can you do more? Can you monetize a hustle? Can you never sit down? Can you work when you're sick? Can you do that? Any time that you can break that and disrupt it, you've done it. Because this is a lifelong, meticulous practice in love. There is no ending to this. We will be disrupting and decolonizing around this work for the rest of our days on this planet, on this body, in this earth. And we'll see what happens when we're ancestors in the spirit and we're in the spiritual dimension. But while we're here in this bound, on this earth, this is going to be a lifelong practice in love. So if we can reimagine that we are never going to be to the end of this, that you'll always be grabbed back. The cycle will go like this. Sometimes I'm so grinded out, I'll be looking at my agent like, I can't go nowhere else. And then sometimes I'm at home for a month. And then sometimes I don't answer emails for 3 days. And sometimes I wake up and do coffee for 20 minutes and look at a bird out the window. And then sometimes, so I feel like we have to begin to understand the rhythm of this and understand what is happening. The beast and the grind of culture, the grind culture will always be pulling us back in. I talk about that in my first book, that I feel pulled in and out of it. And what that feels like to me, though, is water in a wave. If we can begin to wave out on it and be like, okay, there's an alignment that happens, but if you have a center and in your body, it's just certain things I'm just not going to do. I'm not going to have a meeting before this time. I'm not going to have someone try to play me on when it comes to my contracts and money. It's just certain things I'm just like, no. And so if you can have certain things that are a baseline, if you can detox from social media a little, if you can see yourself as worthy of rest. I talk in my book that even if you can't just get to it in full, just thinking to yourself, wow, this pace is unsustainable. That is a seed in fertile ground. That is your toes on the end of that mountain ready to leap, but you're still holding on tight, but you're ready to go leap over into that bed of feather pillows. Even just standing there and honoring the fact that this is unsustainable, that is enough. And I don't think the culture just wants us to wrap everything up in a bow, have your 10-point program, get your little certificate at the end of it, monetize it, have your training to say you're good. Like, that's not going to happen in the culture that we're in. We're maroons, remember? We're tricksters. Yeah, we gotta find ways at any moment to reimagine what it can look like. And so resting and reimagining rest is infinite. Anything that you can do that can connect your mind and body, that can slow you down enough to connect mind and body, is rest. Anything. Prayer. Dancing, listening to music, having tea in the morning, taking a longer shower. My mother, every morning, she don't care what's going on when I was little. She gonna sit and lotion her body from head to toe with her Jergens, period. I'm like, Ma, the bus, I don't care. I'm still on my arm because I'm gonna sit and have a moment to care for me, to sit and not be rushed. So any moment that you can do that, reimagine the idea of breaking a cycle. We're going to be aligning ourselves, floating. We're going to be making waves. We're going to be subversively going in and out of these moments. But if we know the root and the center is to listen to our bodies, even when that looks like you might have to ignore it that one day because you got this deadline, but you come back. I always come back. My center is always rest. I'm never going to stray too far from it because I'm not trying to kill myself, because the systems don't deserve that. They don't deserve any of my brilliance in that way enough. They owe me money. There's a debt that has to be collected. You owe me. And so I will never donate my body to capitalism to the point of where I'll kill myself. I won't do it. My ancestors won't allow it. And so when we can begin to put our foot down on what we will donate ourselves to, what we will sign up for, I think that things will begin to change. So I want people to begin to see it as a dance, as a meticulous love practice that'll be going on for a lifetime.
I love that. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the first time I'm hearing about you, but I've never felt so seen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the work that you're doing. My question is, I'm at the point of burnout. I'm in burnout.
Yes.
Yes, I work for capitalist.
We all.
So it's just like, what do you say to the 30-somethings?
I know.
What do you say to us that have no choice because we need to work?
Of course. Yeah.
At the same time, we're at a place where we just work. I'm tired.
I know.
To the point where I come to work and like I sit there and I'm laying out.
I know.
I'm beyond burnt.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, I think it's 2/3 of Black women don't apply to jobs unless they're overqualified.
Yeah.
I'm beyond overqualified.
I know.
So it's just like how am I able to grow?
Yeah.
And I know that I have to move up in a society where some supposedly progress.
Yeah.
You say to those
Yeah. I get this question. I write it in my first book. I've probably been asked this a million times. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I talk about in the first book this idea of a third space. Has anyone ever heard of the idea of what a third space is? Raise your hand, third spacers. I understand what you're saying because when you read my book, you'll see that I created this organization out of where you were. When I tell you I was sleep deprived, I was medically sleep deprived, burnt out, overworked, headaches, migraines, inflammation. I could not keep up. I couldn't. And so what I would offer to you is that you begin to start a spiritual practice. That could look like in the mornings you pray, you set an altar, you journal, you begin to create this little third space out before you get, because I used to sit on a train on the way to my work where I was a numbed out zombie, and I would stare out the window on the way on the L on the train, and I would just be like, man, I could go to sleep right here. And I began to really connect with nature. I began to sky gaze and daydream. And I believe daydreaming is a form of deep rest, and it's a form of deep imagination work. So I daydreamed my way free out of that damn cubicle. I did. I began to be like, what could it feel like to be up out of here? Every day I would sit at my desk and just journal colors and what it felt, what the color could feel like, what it would taste like to be up out of this place. I began to almost map my escape plan. Okay, so see that this burned out state that you're in is nothing that is in any way the end, or that is in some way the end of you. This is the beginning of escape plan. Of a slow moving, I would literally stare out the window for my 40-minute ride to work and just look at the sky and say, God, you see me. And I would say, thank you. And I would look at the birds, I would look at the trees, I would just begin to daydream. And I created this third space. I would come home and have my tea in the morning, at night, and I always had to have the tea. I had to have it in the dark. Something about having tea in the dark was just something, it was like I was creating this new world. I would pour my hot tea over my cup after being exhausted from being at work, being humiliated at work, knowing I could be paid more, knowing I was the most smartest person in that damn place. And I would pour my lemon tea, and I would sit in the dark and just sit there and just in the dark and drink my tea. My husband called and said, what are you up to down here? I'm plotting. I'm dreaming. I'm hoping. I'm knowing that this is not all that the Creator has for me. And so the slower that you can begin to slow your pace down in any way, if that looks like 10 minutes bath in the morning instead of rushing right to work, if it means like getting off the phone, whatever little ritual that you can create, find it. Even if it's 10 minutes, that is enough. People always think that this movement has to look like you going away, closing your door, kicking the kids out the room, locking the door, putting the blanket over you, and just being gone for 8 hours. No. What black woman can do that? Please raise your hand. I can't, because I got somebody, even the cat is knocking on the door looking for me. You know, my cat, it's like, we have to begin to see ourselves as these subversive tricksters and tap in and ask for the healing that is right in our bodies. And so when you start to slow down, when you try to find these ways, when you read my book, I list pages of ways to do it. When you begin to find something that sits with you, you're going to understand that this is a moment and that you're going to begin to slowly, it took years. Yeah. But stay focused, stay in the rest, stay in rest. Yeah. You're welcome.
And you know what? And I will add to that too, because the other side of that is not expecting external validation.
Yeah.
So in that rest, in that ritual, you are doing it for you and only you.
It's
and
it
is not about like looking at someone to give you the check, the A+, the good job.
They'll never do that.
Yeah, because
the sisters will never give you rest. They'll never lay out a red carpet and say, oh my gosh, y'all coming. They're saying go more.
Yep.
Do more. You're not enough. Can't you do more? Can you work another job? Can you monetize a hobby that you like? Something that brings you joy? Make money off of it. Do this, do that. Trust yourself more than you trust these systems. Yes. When I stopped with all of this, I said, I don't have $20 but I trust myself to make gifts for me. I knew that my body and the Creator would make gifts for me. I told when I was working in graduate school, when I started this program, I went to my teachers and was like, I'm probably gonna fail out. I'll possibly fail because I'm not gonna be able to stay up and do this homework. So do what you will with that. Pray for me, but I'm just letting you know. I can't stay up to 5 in the morning reading 300 pages, and I got 300 pages in 6 classes. How was that even possible? What is that? Even the pace of that is disgusting. It's not even human. Mm-hmm. And they was like, okay, Tricia. And when I began to rest, things start to make sense. Mm-hmm. They want you to be burnt out. They want us to be burnt out because you're easy to manipulate when you're sleep deprived. Yep. I'll say it again. Yes. You're easier to be manipulated when you're sleep deprived. Yep. You're easy to be moved around. They'll say whatever. You think you start getting desperate. You be thinking like, I could never. No, don't let none of that. They want you to be desperate and think that this is the end. Mm-hmm. It's never the end. Never. Your ancestors are with you. Your body is with you. We are divine, and they don't want us to slow down. They don't want us to tap in. As soon as I start tapping in and slowing down, things just came to me.
Amen.
Everything began to make sense. Money fell in my lap.
Amen. Yeah.
If we want to go there, because everybody always got to talk about the bills.
Yeah.
I don't never want to talk about the bills because I feel like this, but I understand we live in a world and poverty is a real system that is trying to keep many of us hemmed up. But when I begin to rest, things begin to make sense in my life that could never make sense when I was awake.
Yep.
I began to make connections between my work. The idea for this work came. My books, most of my books I wrote when I woke up from a nap.
Yeah.
I was dreaming of the chapters, and so rest is a generative state. When I say that, I mean it's a state of generative healing. It's not a waste of time. Yeah. And they want you to not know that. They want you to think, well, you got to get up and do. But I say, no, the more you do less, the better.
Yes,
trust
amen.
it. Try it out for a week. See what you think.
Yeah. I'm agreeing heavily with everything because
Yes.
that has also been reflective in my life.
Yes.
The less I've done, the more intentional, the more
Yes.
strategic.
Slow it down.
Just slowing down and being thoughtful
Breathing.
about my ancestors.
Yes.
It's everything you're saying is making sense, and I know that the audience agrees. We are so appreciative
Thank
of your
you.
work.
I'm so honored.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank y'all. Thank you. I am.
And Tricia is signing books, so please buy a book. We're going to have them signed. And follow her on Instagram. How else can we follow you and support you?
I think Instagram is
Yep.
like the most poppin'est place.
Okay.
That's where all the stuff is happening. But I travel all the time. I'll be
Yes.
traveling. I'll be in Chicago next week
Yes.
doing 2 big events.
Tell your family in Chicago.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for being here.